There's so much math that students know before they ever go into a formal schooling environment, like the ages 0 to 5. Our kids are just soaked in numbers and patterns. And what we need to do as teachers is draw on that as a resource.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Viccaria, aka The Math Guru, and you're listening to Math Therapy, a podcast that explores the root causes of math trauma and the empowering ways we can heal from it. Whether you think you're a math person or not, you're about to find out that math people don't actually exist, but the scars that math class left on many of us definitely do. Oh, and don't worry, no calculators or actual math were involved in the making of this podcast. All right, kids, Math Therapy is back, baby. We are here for our 5th season, and you are in for a wild ride, so buckle up. Today, I have none other than the real Dan Meyer himself. I don't know, not that there's a fake one, at least I don't think there is, but that's not the point. Anyways, Dan Meyer went viral back in 2013 before being viral was even a thing for his TED Talk, Math Class Needs a Makeover, a sentiment that still rings true today. Dan is a math teacher, earned his doctorate from Stanford in math education, and is a director of research at Amplify, where he explores the future of math, tech, and learning. And guys, he's a straight up math celeb, even though he's too humble to admit it. Today, Dan is here to share some juicy thoughts on math education, explore what a makeover in math class might actually look like, and to let me read his birth chart. That last part was definitely maybe a lie. Dan!
Whoa, we're here.
Dan, ever since I failed to impress you when we met the first time by guessing your star sign incorrectly 11 times, leaving only one correct answer,
only one.
I've been dying to have you on the podcast. So
that's called the pigeonhole principle. Whoa, we're mathing already. That's awesome.
Okay, I can't wait to hear about it. But before I do, please, for the record, what is your sign?
Gemini. What was your first guess?
Wait, are you a Gemini?
Yeah.
You're not fucking with me right now? You promise you're a Gemini.
See, if this whole thing is legit and you are, an expert in it, like, shouldn't you know I'm not messing around here?
You know what's so weird? Did I guess Virgo at first?
I forget what you guessed, but it was definitely incorrect.
Okay, but what's so crazy is I'm also a Gemini, okay?
Whoa.
And the thing is, with Virgos and Geminis, they are the only 2 signs in the zodiac ruled by Mercury. So if I guessed Virgo, I feel like I was maybe onto something. Who knows what I guessed? I bet I would have, though, because you seem very Virgo-esque. Okay, let's move on.
Fun fact, though, I am a twin, though, and I understand that Gemini has a thing to do with being twins.
Absolutely.
Which is most of what I know.
Oh my God. Well,
being a Gemini.
The craziest thing is I obviously know you're a twin because I've done some serious stalking.
Whoa.
I know. And that's going to come up later in the interview. Everyone stay tuned.
How would you know this?
But the thing is, Gemini is
terrifying. Watch out, folks. This could go with some weird places.
Okay, listen. Here's how I want to start, to be honest. Okay, this is how I want to start. This is how we are starting. We've already started. Let's not boost you too much, but you are kind of like a celeb in the math world. TBH, I don't really know what for, right? I've always been yeah, Dan Meyer, la, 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 la. Then when we met, I was like, I don't understand this guy's sass and why we already have beef and what the beef is even about.
The beef got going fast.
But why? I feel like you were I read the description of your talk, Math Therapy, and I was like, no, thanks.
Whoa, I would have had much more tact than that in saying something that was equivalent to that.
But what did you say? What was the vibe? It was something like you were like, fine, you know what? No, I don't want to get you canceled. He didn't say that. But what you did say was something like, ugh.
Was it hurtful?
It wasn't hurtful. It just
Honestly, conferences are hard I'm a big introvert
yeah.
who's putting on a big show of being an extrovert, and conferences, I can, at the end of the day, it was the end of the day.
No, I get it. I get it.
Anyway.
But I obviously like you. It wasn't like beef like we were in a fight. I was like, obviously we need to have a further fun beef. But did you have a thought about the concept of math therapy? That's what I actually want to know.
I had so many more questions than opinions, and I, hope to get them answered on the show here and give you opportunities to share, with your listeners what you're about while sharing with me what you're about. But I don't know. I have benefited a lot from therapy personally, and I also I find myself really focused on what is it about how math is constructed that leads people to hate it, not what do we do with people once they hate it. So I find mindfulness and various exercises in that space really helpful personally. But I don't want to ignore the fact that how life is constructed where I live in the Bay Area and more broadly makes people crazy, makes people stressed and miserable and leads to the need for what we might call, therapy in real life. And the same is true for math therapy. So I find myself very interested as a curriculum designer, as a teacher, professional developer, in working on the not needing math therapy part, like not,
oh my God,
not leading people to feel traumatized in a way that where they need math therapy, basically. I think it might have been some of the vibe that you're picking up on, but yeah, respect therapists and all their work, including your own.
Okay, I'm not a certified therapist. Everyone should know that. I actually love what you just said. I didn't think I was going to love what you just said, but as you were saying it, I was like, okay, this is actually very eye-opening. And I guess part of math therapy, because it's just whatever, it's a term I made up. The idea is, yes, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, we do live in an environment and we raise kids in an environment where they are traumatized by math. So whether of course, the goal is to never have that happen, but they are. So we do have to provide some sort of something to help them out of that or to help them manage that. But part of math therapy is to avoid re-traumatizing kids or to avoid traumatizing them in the first place. And that's what your thing is all about. You're the first math celeb. Aren't you? I feel like you're the first person
False.
No, are you? Or maybe not math celeb, but when I think about you and when I actually did do some research, I feel like you were the one who actually started Math Class Needing a Makeover and this idea of avoiding traumatizing kids in the first place. Do you think that? Am I wrong?
No, here's some relevant background. It's just that I got my break when the Common Core hit in 2010 in the US, this new way of looking at the actual math knowledge and the way we do math. And I came along with this talk I gave for the TED group. Yeah. And it was synchronicity. I don't want to deny that, like, I've worked on various aspects of my craft of like public speaking, of writing, of teaching that have been helpful for people in some ways and get me some notoriety. But there was a lot of, good chance involved there. I would say that, like, I came also along at a time when like blogging and writing online was somewhat novel. Now everyone shares everything online. But at the time, like, I was sharing like failures from the classroom yesterday, on a public website and saying, help me get better at this. And that was also something that was new to folks and has put me in a spot where I get to do more of that. And I'm very, very grateful that I've had the experiences I've had. I feel very lucky. Math celeb is the sort of thing you don't like put on a business card or brag about to your family. They'll put you in your place real fast if you're like, hey, I'm not doing the dishes at Thanksgiving. I'm a math celeb.
Fine.
They're like, oh no.
But I actually think, so I mean, I know you don't know anything about me, but my master's thesis was called Imagining a World Where Paris Hilton Loves Math. And my big thing, I'm very bent on the media representation of math, but also, like, I actually don't say that lightly. I think math celebs should be more of a thing because I think mathematicians and educators really should have the same weight and same quality that celebrities have because they should be and are influential in the same way. But like, whatever, we don't need to get into that now. But okay, your TED Talk was called Math Class Needs a Makeover. And I want to know what you meant then versus, or if it's even changed, what you would mean by that same statement now.
Yeah, great. Appreciate the opportunity to have a second crack at that one. What was that, 2010, I think?
2013.
That's 12 years ago.
2013. 2013? Yeah.
I have not watched it since, I don't think, because it got gazillions of views on YouTube, and I get a little scared thinking about how much that's been viewed. But like, when I have thought back to it, a few things hold up, a few things don't. I think there's a big emphasis on media, on how at that time it became easier and easier to put like images and movies into classes. You didn't have to like roll out the film reel or wheel in the big TV on the cart or whatever. It was like... It was like, hey, I did some math yesterday in the world, and I can bring that world into the classroom so that you can participate in that math. I was in the world wondering which grocery store line would be fastest. And I did some math thinking about that. And I can like bring a picture of the two lines in and share it with you. And you can experience math in a way that is not pre-digested, that is not like, here's the relevant info, here's the formula in which you will put that info, and here's the box for your answer. And so that was very novel back then. And I think that since then, I've been trying to figure out like, so what is, math does not lend itself to images and movies. Like, not all math can be or should be based on an image from the world out there. So what is the thing that was in that experience for me that is common across all math? And I've learned that it is, everyone's got intuitions about whatever math they're learning. Everyone's got some knowledge that's spatial, that's based on guesswork or their innate powers to pattern sense, and that math classes don't use that. Math classes often ask students to write down the final result of someone else's mathematizing of this early stuff, but don't invite students to share, how would you describe the pattern you're seeing? How would you describe this shape? How are these shapes different? And then, build off of that to share some common math knowledge. That's what's been happening since then, working with student intuition about whatever math they're about to learn.
I'm now remembering, because I have a very clearly short memory, because I was like, oh yeah, that is what your talk was about, how that has changed in a way, but in a way is staying the same. I've actually heard some people say we focus too much now on technology, like we're kind of too like, oh my God, videos, games, la 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 la, and we should more be getting at exactly what you're saying. The point of that technology is to allow real-time math and kids to really actually participate in the act of doing math. Is that kind of it, do you think?
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's participate in doing math, not just repeating someone else's historical doing of math is huge for me. Now, how technology fits into that is, I think, a second question. But that's like principle number one, higher order principle is to understand that like babies, there are studies where like babies can identify quantities that are different. There's so much math that students know before they ever go into a formal schooling environment, like the ages 0 to 5. Our kids are just soaked in numbers and patterns and shapes. And what we need to do as teachers is to draw on that as a resource so that learning is more effective and that students feel seen for their value, which, let's be real, you would know as a licensed math therapist, more than anybody, that students don't often feel seen for their value mathematically in math class.
Well, and I'm wondering if this perhaps ties into how we started this with that idea of like, how do we avoid traumatizing kids in math class in the first place?
Yeah, exactly. So as a curriculum designer, what I start to think about is, given a math topic, given the destination, what are early ways that students know about it? So I don't know what that looks like for a given math topic, but like if I'm thinking about like solving equations, students know about balance, how to keep things in balance or out of balance. They know cause and effect. And these are all ways that we can bring students and their resources into their own learning to make it more effective, more socially meaningful for them.
So do you think this kind of, like, I've been thinking a lot lately about how when we define what being good at math is, it leaves out so many students. And I think that actually causes part of the trauma. So for example, being like, okay, being good at math means you're fast. It means you can memorize stuff. It means you can do mental math. So in a way, you're kind of just like, I don't want to put words in your mouth as much as I already have 5 times, but like, are you kind of like, if we can broaden that definition of what being good at math means, we're valuing more ways of being good at math, which, you know, are very genuine ways?
Yeah, definitely. And this is also part of the like weirdly ideological project of math ed reform, where it's like, how do we define what good at math is?
Yeah.
It's not like that's an objective truth, like how 2 + 2 is 4 under some number systems or whatever. Like there are objective truths in math, and this is not one of them. But I think that we should, for instance, look at the humanities and what makes those, why humanities therapy, why that's a little bit less identifiable as a need. You know, like why is that not a thing that we see at NCTE's national convention, is the English therapist or whatever. So part of that is saying like, yeah, math class has been set up in lots of ways where being good at it means calculating quickly, accurately, correctly, and precisely. And instead to say, well, what if it means, you know, predicting an answer before calculating it, or using the words you brought to class to describe a pattern or a set of shapes before learning what the actual definition is. Even naming a wrong answer has been so valuable for students that I taught back when. Like I'd have students where I'm like, hey, give your best prediction of what the answer is for how many, you know, marbles are in that cylindrical jar, right? And they wouldn't do it because they had internalized this idea that you've got to be quick and correct. And even if I said like, just a guess, it wouldn't work. They would not want to do it. But if I said, okay, just tell me a wrong answer. Tell me an answer that is too high or too low.
I love this. I really like that.
Just to watch a student who's like, oh, you know, okay, wrong answers. Like I got that. I can, but to help them see value, there is mathematical value in naming an answer you know to be wrong.
Okay, wait, why do you think there isn't stuff? Like, I'm always like, when you say the word math, someone has like a visceral reaction, right? Like, I think like a trauma response. They're like, oh my God, math, I hate it. Like, oh, you're like, oh my God, you need math therapy. If you ask someone like, blah, 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 history class, they might be like, oh yeah, like I never really liked history, but they don't have that same reaction. And you kind of hit on that when you're like, yeah, why isn't there as much of a need as like humanity therapies? Why do you think there, oh my God, I don't even think I said a word right in that sentence. But you know what I said, right? I'm
tracking. What's the difference between humanities and math in this way?
Yeah, like why is math anxiety an actual diagnosable thing now? Like, you know what I mean? Like doctors know about it, psychologists know about it. But like if you were like, I have history anxiety, they'd be like, oh, I've never...
I don't feel like it's in like the DSM, like, right? It's, you know, like it's
fine, but you know what I mean?
There are surveys for it in ways I'm not sure that there are for like science or history anxiety. So point taken. Yeah. No, check this out. Like, here's a fun one is to like, if you go to Google and you search for things, it'll tell you how many results there are, right? It'll tell you like how many results of that thing there are on the internet. So I went and I like searched for, in quotes, why am I bad at? And then like I entered in different subjects. And you would be, I don't know if you would or wouldn't be. I was very surprised at not which one had the most results. It was math. But that other subjects had almost no footprint as far as, I mean, it was like 3 orders of magnitude higher. It was something like hundreds of thousands versus like 10 for science, for history, for English. It was wild. And so anyway, that's just like one example of this. But the reason why I think is, for me, my idea is that those subjects make room for the knowledge that students have when they walk in the door. Before the teacher has said anything about the theme of a novel or how to write a persuasive essay or, you know, why 2 different countries were fighting. Before the teacher said anything, students are presumed, more than in math, to have some game, to have some knowledge there, to have something to bring to the table. It's presumed that in science, you can show a kid stuff getting mixed and these ones blew up and these ones didn't, and the student might have an idea about that. Like, it's presumed that students can like have ways of making sense that aren't related to the teacher's ideas. But in math class, there's a thought that your value as a student, like, what could you possibly know about this? Like, you know, this is tough stuff. You've got to listen to me tell you what I know, and your value is whether you can repeat that back to me in ways I understand.
I'm having like physical goosebumps. Like, this is really eye-opening. I think that's, and actually, like, I'm also just so excited about my next question that I feel like I'm going to throw up. Like, because it ties, you know, it just is, this full circle moment is so good. I'm wondering if part of this actually has to do with what you said earlier about how defining, like, I'm just thinking about the Google searches, right? And how you're like, yeah, people literally being like, why am I bad at math? If someone is typing that in, that presumes that they have an idea of what being good at math means. But yet, as you said earlier, like, that's actually a very hard thing to define. Now, wait for this. Are you ready for what I'm about to fucking say?
I don't know if I'm ready. I'm guessing I'm not ready. Go for it, though.
Die right in.
I'm holding on.
Oh, my God. Speaking of being a Gemini and being a twin, no, I promise you, no, you're going to like it. I read an article last week that pissed me off beyond belief. So it was some study in China, and it said something of the sort of math ability might be genetic. And this study went on, and it was basically a study with 1,000 kids. I believe they were in kindergarten. Don't quote me on that. They were younger kids in a particular region. And how they defined math ability was like, oh, we're looking at different parts of the brain that, you know, how to add and how to subtract. It was more about computation, like certain types of operations. And the takeaway was our ability to be good at math might be genetic. And that was what the first thing I stopped to think was, wait a second, how are we defining what it means to be good at math? Is it subtracting versus multiplying? And then this made me think about you as a twin, honestly, because if we think about it, I know, oh my God, your eyes are so wide right now, huh? I'm just trying to track.
I'm just trying to track here.
I get it. But it's like this whole thing made me think about it, this idea of math ability being genetic. Because then I had this side question about being like, oh my God, does your twin like math? That's just, I guess, a side tangent. Maybe it doesn't even tie in here. But the idea of like math ability, how are we defining what it means to be good at math in the first place? And now you're right. I can't even track. I don't even know what my question is, but just answer it.
Your brain is such an exciting place. Yeah, this is a real journey.
It's because we're both Geminis. You get it.
We've been on a real journey here.
But you know what I'm saying, right? Like, just answer something in that realm.
Answer something. Yeah. Like, I'm not a geneticist. I don't know. Like, I don't think our project depends on math being completely nurtured versus natured. Like, whatever your nature, if there is a genetic component to being good at math, and I'm not sure, we still have work to do as teachers to make sure every student can reach beyond where they currently are. And that's where I want to focus is the environments we create for students to learn lots of math. I do think, like, my twin is instructive. She's relevant here. She learned very early on, she was told very early on that math was not for girls, like, or not for her anyway. Like, it wasn't like explicitly said, but somehow she got the idea like math was not for her. And she had some really good teachers in public school and high school at Ukiah, California, go Wildcats, that like really did a lot to convince her, nah, math is for you, you are for math. But anyway, she did the creative arts major thing. And like, we were on very divergent paths, like humanities and math. And we both have kind of like determined that we had more in common than we had different in that way. But yeah, she had to do a lot of math therapy for herself. She's an ER doctor now, and she's got math game now. Like she knows her stuff.
Oh my God, I should have her on the podcast. That sounds like a wild story.
No, she always upstages me. She's so cool. She's extremely cool.
Okay, but I now know remember though why. First of all, thank you. That was actually very informative. But now I remember what I was thinking is, do you think that part of the reason the math therapy thing and the Googling why am I bad at is because we actually have this idea that math ability is genetic?
No, I don't.
Really?
I don't think that's it. I think there's more to it. Like, I mean, it's a part of it. I shouldn't say no. So it's multifaceted. That's certainly a part of it. Here's the thing is that like schools drive so much less of society than a lot of people want to believe, including and especially teachers. Schools are downstream from so much, by which I mean like politics, economics, religion, all that. And so whenever I see like some kind of like affliction, some kind of like terrible thing happening in a school, my question is like, how have the grown-ups constructed society that has led to that? So we have set up schools as a sorting mechanism to help funnel people into their places in the economy of capitalism. There are a small number of spots available for bosses and landowners and the owner class. And then there's a need for a lot of workers who know how to like respond to a bell, listen to instructions, and know their place. And that to me is where a lot of this comes from, is that math is a very useful marker, and it's been turned into a useful marker for telling people their place, which means that there's a lot of energy that is manifested in like marketing and like how math is perceived in pop culture. There's a lot of money and energy behind using math to impose a position on people in their future jobs.
Oh my God, it's so weird.
Talk to me.
No, I'm just like, oh my God, I didn't think we'd have this much in common, to be honest. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't think it was going to go this way, but I'm like, oh my God, everything you're saying. Yes, this is actually like my whole thing. This is what I'm so obsessed with. This is what I wrote my whole thesis on. This is what I'm always saying, but I just didn't think you'd be like of the same mindset for some reason. But and also you're obviously way better at articulating it than me because you're like a different kind of Gemini. I have to look at your entire chart, but I'm very like scattered, as you know. So like, I'm an outer processor.
I'm learning.
Yeah. Anyways,
tell me about me though. Sometime I want to get the reading. You know.
Oh my
like,
God, I'd be happy.
I don't, you know, off the air. It might be too. It might be too much for me to hear live.
It would be, but I think you'd be excited to know that actually back in the day, the only people who were allowed to be astrologers were mathematicians, because the entire birth chart is a wheel of 360 degrees divided in 12 into 30 degree houses, and the entire way the planets interact is based on angles. And so you had to be a mathematician to cast a chart. Now there are apps for that, obviously, so anyone can do it, and it's not taken as seriously. Great, let's move on. Okay, so I love all of this. I think it's so crazy. And I couldn't agree more, but I also am like, how are we not waking the fuck up? The way you said, basically the hierarchy of what we need from a classroom. Yes, I understand that back in the day, I'm using air quotes, we needed a lot of people who could answer the bells, as you put it, right? That could, join an assembly line, that could follow rules. But I feel like now it's so abundantly clear that our really big problems in the world cannot be solved that way. And we need more people and more diversity of thought. Don't you think we need to like catch up to math class switching gears to be like, oh, let's develop the actual critical thinking skills. Let's welcome more people into the fold who can think in ways that mathematicians haven't been able to.
Absolutely, yes. And as like a personal act of protest, one that is shared by lots of math educators, I think that's exactly what is needed, is to resist what is imposed on us through just the air, the vibes of our political economy, to sort kids. Like, we have some agency to say, nah, I'm going to build different activities. I'm going to do different kinds of pedagogies. I'm going to have different posters on the wall.
Right.
Like, full court press on this idea that math is only for some kids and not for others. We can do that, but I don't want to overestimate the impact of those efforts. School has been around in North America for a couple hundred years. It's a young thing, really, and it was at every step of a stage of its development, from like everyone in one schoolhouse to different grades, like all of these decisions were made and informed by the needs of the bosses of workplaces. Mm-hmm. And so like, I also feel very excited, and I feel like we need to focus on how to change the environment that surrounds school, and not assume that our efforts in the classroom, all of which are important acts of protest, that they will have enduring effects. Like, our kids will go to other classes with teachers who have different convictions. And they'll be influenced in different ways. It can't be up to the individuals in the school to make the kind of changes. It won't last, basically. It's what I'm concerned about.
Okay, but I love how you just talked about the act of educating in a classroom as an act of protest. That's badass. Like,
did you folks, just a question for the listeners, Vanessa's not the only person doing some research on things. Did y'all know that Vanessa's like a rock star?
oh my God, Dan.
Isn't that wild? Like, what is the rock star to math teacher to math therapist pipeline? Like, how many people are there in that? Do you like have like a get together with like 2 people total worldwide?
You should have me
like,
on your pod.
What is the if you had to ask me, what is like the least punk rock subject for an ex-rocker to teach or get involved with? I would answer math before you had finished the question.
Oh.
Like, what is going on here?
Wait, why are you doing this though? Do you want to stop talking about what we were talking about, or are you just trying to show that you know something about me? Or something
I think it's
else?
relevant.
Okay, it is relevant.
You said the protest thing, and I'm like, protest. I get why you might vibe to that, being like, a rock artist.
Well, I am very
a rock and roller.
I'm very flattered that you know literally anything about me, but actually this is completely relevant because what I was going to say, I wasn't going to talk about myself as much as I wanted to, is this is what I always say too. Like, I love the idea of educating as an act of protest, but I'm also, as you're saying this, I'm like, perhaps I'm saying that's all it can be, and that's what it can be in the same sentence. Like, it's so grand, but it's also so small in the scheme of, exactly, we are just like a little microcosm of society in a classroom. And which is why, literally, I've been petitioning Netflix to give me a fucking math show forever. And I spend most of my days calling out media stereotypes when it comes to math, calling out advertisements, and calling out all of this stuff that I actually think, maybe it's because I am legit Forever 21, but I really see media as the biggest influence. I know for me growing up, it was the biggest influence. I know what my students are doing. I know they're just watching the Kardashians. I feel very frustrated. And I think it's important for educators to know that that's what we're fighting.
And on every front, yeah, this sense that you have a certain destiny and a certain role. And I would invite us all to think about how teachers are depicted in popular media.
Totally.
Like, what are the most popular depictions of math teachers even, and why are they depicted that way? And like, you look at, teachers like Jaime Escalante and Stand and Deliver, for instance, and not to diminish that accomplishment at all. What I remember of watching that as a new teacher is that he had a heart attack and fell down the stairs. In his efforts to help students more, that's what society wants from teachers. Like we talked about what is demanded of students to be a part of our political economy. For teachers, the world wants teachers to take on the burden of fixing all the stuff.
Wow. Fucking wow. It's so true. It's so true. I actually saw, I don't, have you seen this guy? I saw this guy do this talk at some conference, and his whole talk was representations of teachers in the media. Do you know who I'm talking about? The point is, I mean, you could say this.
There's a great paper of some dude. I don't know if it's the same person.
Maybe it's the same dude.
Okay. Some person, St. Mary's University, let's put it in the show notes, wrote a really fantastic analysis of, like, he has one that he likes, one teacher in media that he likes, which is from the movie called Cheaters. It's got Jeff Daniels in it. And a really solid rundown of the differences of how teachers are depicted with suburban schools versus urban schools. And I think that teaching should be easier, with less weight put on it by society to fix a student's, mental health, physical health, their learning, their nutrition. Like, we just put it all on teachers.
Oh my God.
And now we're getting to like a little bit why, like, math therapy for me, like, yes. And, I'm excited about it, and I wish it were not a thing. I wish we had done things so that, it was not as necessary as it is.
I totally get that. I mean, but I guess you could say that about like all of therapy in general. Like,
I mean, not all, but yeah, a lot of that.
But I mean, it would be great if we weren't ever traumatized ever in general life. Forget the classroom, right? It would be great if but I mean, it's like
there are countries that are happier than we are, right?
Totally,
there
the blue
are
zones. Oh my God.
There are places that are happier than we are, and that's not luck or chance or genetics. It's just like how laws were set up and how the economy runs and what are the guarantees of being a citizen, being a person. It's just different.
Why haven't you moved to any of them? Like I'm always like, I want to visit the blue zones, right? That's what they are. You know what I'm talking about?
What are they called? The blue zones? This is
yeah. It's like
what's
there's
the blue
5
zone?
blue zones. It's the places in the world where people live the longest, not the longest lives, but the longest, happiest lives, and they're based on a set of criteria. So, for example, like people in these places have a sense of purpose. A lot of them are like farming communities where even into old age, like you have to get up, you have to take care of something.
Well, that's why I'm not going there yet. It's going to be useless. They would
No, but it's, you don't have to
use
be
me
a farmer.
for food or something.
No, that's not it either, though. And like a lot, like there's a set of criteria. Like one of them being like actually having a purpose when you wake up. Another one being like probably what you're saying. Like it's a society that's very tight when it comes to community. So there's a sense of community. Like they have access to a lot of fresh food. Like there's like basically a whole list of stuff. Like kind of what you're talking about. Yeah. Anyways, maybe we should take a trip is all I'm saying.
Road trip. I like where I live. We're on different sides of the border here, but I love a lot about my country, and also, want to see things change. I'm not a love it or leave it kind of person here. It's like,
my God. Yeah, right. That's a big
I'm committed.
Yeah, I'm not. Okay. We like very unfortunately have to wrap up. I'm actually very sad about it because I'm having way more fun than I thought. Are you?
I'm having exactly as much fun as I thought, to be honest. So I'm glad I came in with benefiting from low expectations here. Yeah, awesome.
Oh my God. Okay, there's 2 final things I want to ask you. Okay, you set a Guinness World Record, and I don't know if you know about this, but so did I. I know. Did you just
hold up? I have a question just to identify like which caliber of record holder we're talking about here. Was yours a solo record or one of those like group records? Like
Fuck
we all
you,
kind
Dan,
of.
Okay.
I just want to know who I'm dealing with here.
Okay, fine. Yours is obviously cooler than mine, but ours is. It was a group record.
Ours. I see. Yes. Okay. Now tell me. This is really exciting to me.
It was a record for the longest rock concert ever. And how long was it, David?
Yeah.
Do you remember? I don't know. I think it was like 7 days or something. Basically, it was like, what, 16? 16 days. And basically,
16.
and it was so crazy. So yes, we were one of like hundreds of bands that played it. And basically they had to have music playing 24/7 at this bar. And like the rules were so crazy. Like it was like,
oh yeah,
you're right. Like insane. Anyways,
oh, yeah.
So we played twice during this. So that's mine. But okay, let's hear about yours, which was actually a solo record.
Well, yeah. Like mine is like yours if I had like come in and done like a quick thing and then let other people do lots of work. But that's not how mine was. So like we have a lot in common, but there are some differences that are worth probably pointing out. Yours is obviously lots cooler than mine because mine was chaining paper clips together and making the world's longest paperclip chain, the longest chain the world had ever seen. Yeah. So that's about as much detail as we need to go into that. But it was a long time ago. It was college, back when I felt like I had a lot more energy for that kind of nonsense.
How long did it take? Like, should I try and beat you? Like, that could be real beef.
Here's the deal. You couldn't. I just don't think you could. Look, I'm just telling, like, and it's not you. I just don't know if I don't know if I could break this record. Here's the thing. It is, oh my gosh. It's held for 20 years. Like, it's a 20-year-old record. Name like another record that's held for 20 years. Like speed skate, like Olympics records, like they all get broken.
People try to break those. Has anyone tried to break your record?
I hear you. I do. It's not the same. I'm not putting it on the same pedestal, but this thing was like, okay, so you chain a clip. How fast could you chain clips? You have 24 hours. You have 24 hours to chain paper clips together. How fast could you do it? I was doing one clip every 2 seconds for 24 hours.
Oh my God, that
24 hours.
But how? Were you on like, did you take any substances?
Well, what do you call caffeine a substance?
No.
That was all I was up to there. But so anyway.
Oh my God, that's did you have an injury? Were your hands bleeding at the end?
You know what? My knuckles started cracking after that. They never could before that, but now they're just like a bunch of bones in a pinball machine or whatever. It's awful.
Okay, we are done. Okay, we're going to the final two.
David was like, okay, what is going on here?
I wish you could see David's face. I honestly wish you could see his face. Okay.
David's eyes are rolling back behind his skull.
The final two questions.
But hey, I just want to say congrats on that record, though. That's fun.
Wait, David has a note that he wants me to read you, which is that Dexter from The Offspring has a PhD in molecular biology.
Whoa.
So that's pretty rough. So I guess us and Dexter, that's we should start a convention for us.
I love that you have like I'm hearing from my producer. Breaking news, urgent.
Okay, the final two questions we ask everyone. Number one, Dan Meyer, what is the one thing you'd like to see change about the way math is taught in schools?
Make it more like the humanities. Next.
Wow, Jesus Christ. Okay. Number two. Number two. What? What do you say to someone who's like, Dan, I'm just not a math person?
I would say, how dare you? How dare you spread that lie?
That's it. I'm kidding. That could be it.
Well, that might be a little more aggressive. No. I mean, you got told a lie, you got told a lie at some point. The world tells you lies about that sort of thing. It's all about how we define math. Everyone's mathematical. Everyone's a pattern sensor, a shape describer, an estimator. So
these are cool. I want these on a shirt.
Yeah.
Pattern sensor, shape describer. Mm-hmm. This has been so fun.
What a treat.
Is there anything else you want to say? Go tell people where to find you.
You can find me on Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah, Twitter at DD Meyer. I got a Substack newsletter. danmeyer.substack.com is where I do a little weekly writing about these issues. So would love to see y'all there.
Great. And stay tuned. Maybe we'll do episode 2 where I live read Dan Meyer's birth chart.
Bonus for the subscribers. Bonus for the Patreon.
Bonus for the Patreon. Okay, this has been amazing.
Thank you. So long.
I mean, is there even anything left to say at this point? I feel like I totally judged Dan Meyer based on our 2-minute interaction almost a year ago, and it just goes to show you that you don't always get a second chance to make a first impression. Unless you get asked to be on a podcast. But for real, I feel like Dan had my mind whirling for this entire interview and gave me so much to think about. One thing I just can't get out of my mind is the idea of teaching math as an act of protest. It's so cool, so punk rock, and that's something each and every one of us can do regardless of where we are and what our classrooms look like. I would love to know what teaching math as an act of protest looks like for you, and I'm sure Dan would too. So hit us up and stay tuned for the non-existent part 2 of this episode where Dan Meyer lets me read his birth chart. I mean, crazier things have happened, so let's just manifest it, guys. If something in this episode inspired you, please tweet us at Math Therapy. And you can also follow me personally at The Math Guru on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Math Therapy is hosted by me, Vanessa Vicaria. It was created by me and Sabina Wex, and it's produced and edited by David Coachberg. Our theme music is by Goodnight Sunrise. And guys, if you know someone who needs math therapy or just needs to hear someone else getting math therapy, please, please, please share this podcast and rate or review it on whatever podcast app you use. Those things actually make such a big difference for us. I'm determined to change the culture surrounding math, and I need your help. So spread the word. Until next time, peace, love, and pie.